It's Kutztown Live with Shantae Taylor. Your campus and community issues and interview radio show. Call Shantae at 610-683-4859. And now, Shantae Taylor on Kutztown Live.
Hey everyone, it's Shantae and welcome to Kutztown Live. I have George, who is the marketing coordinator of ACE, with us here today, and he's here to give us an update. So what do you have for us for this week?
All right, so this Friday we actually have two events. First, we have open mic. It's going to be at 7 p.m. in the South Dining Hall downstairs. You can just come in, pick a song, and then kind of just sing it out however you feel it. And then we also have the Art Education Conference this Friday as well. It's going to be held in Schaefer Auditorium. That starts at actually 9 in the morning. It's kind of like an all-day event. First, we have Joanna Prestili. She's an artist and animator. She'll be speaking. And then at 10:30, we have Camilla Rockwell. She's a filmmaker and director. And then around 1 o'clock, they'll have documentaries in the little smaller rooms for both of them. And then next Wednesday, after our Thanksgiving break, we have pre-exam snacks. It's going to be at 8 o'clock in the library lobby. We'll be handing out snacks such as pretzels, wings, and I think we might be handing out Scantrons as well.
So that's from 8 a.m. until when?
I probably imagine 8 to 9.
8 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the library, only on Wednesday?
Yep, Wednesday the 2nd, December 2nd.
All right, yeah, I got to be there for that. I always go to those things whenever y'all do it for finals. You always have free food, free Scantrons, free folders, everything. It's great. Okay, well, thank you for giving us an update about what ACE has for these next 2 weeks, and I will see you after Thanksgiving break so you can tell us what's going on for the rest of the semester.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Millions of fans have made this show their rock holiday tradition. Trans-Siberian Orchestra, the live debut of The Ghost of Christmas Eve, the best of TSO. Presented by Hallmark Channel, November 25th at Santander Arena, Reading. Friday, December 11th, Mohegan Sun Arena at Casey Plaza at Wilkes-Barre. All new show, all new visual spectacular, all your favorites. The power of rock with the majesty of classical. A multi-sensory experience that is truly a must-see. Trans-Siberian Orchestra live. Buy your reserved seat tickets now at Ticketmaster.com, the arena box offices, or by phone. Don't miss Trans-Siberian Orchestra's Ghost of Christmas Eve. Order the new album, Letters from the Labyrinth, available at Amazon.com.
Hey, it's Shantae, and welcome back to Kutztown Live. I have a special guest with me here today. I have Dan Volley, who is the founder of the Radio Conference Institute. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good, Shantae. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since the radio show in Atlanta.
Yeah, and I have to say I was impressed that you took the time, made the time, and spent the money that it took to get down to Atlanta. I was impressed that you made that trip down there and had that experience.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and that was my first time in Atlanta. So, yeah, it was my first time at the radio show and my first time at Atlanta.
And your first time in a broadcast convention, I assume.
Yes, it is. So I was just very grateful for the opportunity. Like I told you and I told Jennifer, and I'm looking forward to what is going to happen for the 2016 show.
Oh, good.
But I just want to, ask you a couple questions. But first, I would like to know, when did you start to pursue a career in radio and why?
Actually, that's been a long time, Shantae, but when I think about it, it was, the story goes, I hadn't told this story in a while, but I grew up in the rural eastern North Carolina, and I remember sitting on the front porch with my best friend from high school. We were seniors in high school, and we were talking about what are we going to do when we graduate, because we knew we didn't want to stay where we were. It was all I mean, a lot of people were around where I work were farmers and all, which is a great way, a great occupation, but it's not anything that he or I were good at. Mm-hmm. And so what are we going to do? And about the time we were sitting on a porch, how about this for serendipity? We were sitting on my parents' porch and talking about what we're going to do when we get out of school and going to college, going to business, what are we going to be doing and where. And an ad came on the local radio station we were listening to. It was a top 40 radio station. And it said, "You too can join the exciting world of radio broadcasting." And we looked at each other and said, that's what we're going to do. We had no idea if we had any talent or skill set for it whatsoever, but we thought, that's what we're going to do. And because we were both very much into music and enjoyed that, of course, and we knew we weren't going to be the next rock stars. So we both thought that was great. We both graduate from high school, go to school, and end up getting into radio. He got into radio about a year before I did, and we've both been in the business ever since. And so I guess the why part is we were trying to figure out what we were going to do, and this quote-unquote opportunity came up, this idea came up of being in radio, and we loved music so much, and we listened to radio all the time, and we just thought, why not? And fortunately, both of us had the whatever it takes to make it in the business, and that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, that was definitely a long time ago, and the radio industry has definitely changed. Mm-hmm. Since then, like, I know it's harder for people to get jobs out there in radio, and that there are fewer jobs in radio. And, you know, people are always saying that people do not listen to radio anymore. But, you know, as I learned in the Institute, that's not necessarily true. But what I will say is, or what I will ask you is, what do you think is lacking in the radio industry?
Well, what I think is lacking?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about it in that context, but I think the only thing lacking in the industry is that the lack of awareness, I guess, of how successful the industry is. And I think that has sort of happened because, like you said, it's actually a myth that people aren't listening to radio anymore. And I could give you countless studies and all. Anybody's done that, from the Gallup organization to Nielsen or all these reputable research companies and all. But I think there's a perception that radio is old technology. And that may be why people think that, and I guess it is old technology in a way, but it's also today's technology, and I can elaborate on that. But because of all the different choices you have these days for entertainment and information, and the print industry has struggled with a lot of losing a lot of readers because of the internet, and but yet they still do well. Most of them do well financially, quite frankly. But with radio and TV, there's been a decrease in how much time people spend with radio, or how much time they spend with TV, just because you've got so many different choices from the internet or YouTube or Pandora, Spotify, whatever other more recent technology that people spend time with. But the reality is, and again, it's not just me talking, and you saw some evidence of this in the Institute you were in, mm-hmm. But you can research it online, like I say, with reputable companies like Nielsen and Gallup, and you'll see that the actual radio listening in America has actually increased. There are more people listening to radio today than ever has been before. Now, people spend less time with those products, but that'd be like if whatever your favorite restaurant is in town that you go to, if there's another restaurant opens up, then you go check out that restaurant for a while, and you spend less time at your previous restaurant. Same thing with any kind of media entertainment. And so people are listening as often, and actually more people listening than ever. They're just listening a little less time when they do listen, because they have so many choices to choose from. So I guess the only lacking thing is that we hadn't done a great job of that perception of how successful broadcasting and radio specifically really is.
I think it's great that you mentioned that. And you also, I liked how you sort of brought the TV industry in there as well. When you said that there are just not fewer people, but people are watching less of it or listening less to radio. But how would you compare the radio industry to the television industry?
Well, there's a lot of, it depends on which area you would look in. I think both industries are good industries to be in, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. They're actually more, from a young person's standpoint, there are more radio stations. You mentioned jobs earlier. There are more radio stations in America than there are TV stations. Just typically, you're talking about over-the-air TV. There's typically, depending on the size of the city, 3, 4, 5 TV stations in a marketplace, not counting all the cable channels that you would get. But in a typical radio station, in a typical city, I'm just thinking about Pennsylvania, for example, there'll be 40, 50 signals in Philadelphia and then 30, 40 radio stations in Pittsburgh. There's probably 15, 18 stations in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I could go on and different examples like that. So just because there's more radio stations than there are TV stations, there may be more opportunities to get into broadcasting through radio than there would be through TV. But there's a lot of terrific things going on television. That's some of the easy ways to get into easy relative, and you always got to work after it to make something happen. But there's a lot of producing jobs and all, in behind the scenes, behind the camera type jobs in television. And again, both industries are very good. I lean toward radio because I'm really on the performance side. Although, as you know, Shantae, I've owned a couple of businesses and still do, and so you have to deal with all the business of the business and the sales side of the business. But my favorite side's the performance side, the on-air and the programming and production and those kinds of things. And on that side of the business, there's just more opportunities to get in and do things. And with me and most of the people I know in radio that prefer radio over TV, and I got plenty of TV friends that say they prefer TV over radio as far as an industry to work in. But for us, there's much more freedom to be able to ad-lib, and there's less time constraints. Like most a TV reporter or a TV anchor you watch tonight on television is going to be reading a predetermined script that is either he or she has written or been written for him.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with that, because that takes a real talent and skill set in itself. And there's some great ones out there. But with radio, just like this interview you and I are doing, you can take this interview in any direction you like, and you can respond to my question, or you can go to your next question, and there's not as much restriction on it, and your personality can come through more on radio than it does in TV. So that flexibility and the personality that radio allows is what I prefer, and one of the differences in radio and TV. Both are good professions to be in.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I actually, when I graduate, as you know, I'm a senior now, and when I graduate, I would like to go into radio and television. I like doing both of them, but what I will say is that I feel as though there's more freedom in radio. I feel like you can be yourself in radio. You can have more fun in radio.
I think that's true, but also one of the things, too, and early in your career, just like in my career, I wasn't sure where my career was going to take me either. I just knew that I wanted to do something like this, and when you get into, and even it's even better today in a lot of ways for people getting into the business, because there's so much convergence between radio and TV, and at a university these days, if you're a broadcast major, particularly, you get to learn audio skill sets and video skill sets. You learn to edit audio, and you get to edit video, and you learn all these kind of things. And when you get into, let's just use radio because it's a little bit more obvious with TV. But if you get into radio, I tell people, young people get into the business today like yourself, make sure when you're applying for the radio station, you list that your video skill sets too, and all the things you learned in college about video as well as audio. Because in radio these days, because of the internet, you have the opportunity to use a lot of the video skill sets as well, and you get into the major markets, New York, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Chicago, those kind of markets. Your video skill sets are used a lot through the internet, with the radio station streaming their audio and placing all their promotions and doing a lot of interviews, video interviews as well as audio interviews. Those kind of things are used on radio stations a lot these days, and it's a skill set a lot of radio stations want. And then, of course, there's people, always use him because he's the best example because everybody knows him, like Ryan Seacrest, who's been a radio guy all his life.
He's amazing.
And still does. Today, this morning, he does every day, did the morning show on KISS FM in Los Angeles. That's sort of his day job. But the radio career opened his career to all these TV opportunities that everybody knows him about today. So that's, when you say you want to do radio, you can do radio and TV. You certainly can, because a lot of doors open after you get into the business.
Yeah, I liked how you said that you need a lot of audio and video skills. And because I'm a communications major, My major doesn't concentrate on broadcasting. It concentrates on the writing aspect of broadcasting, but I haven't learned any production skills or anything like that through my major. Everything that I've acquired was through KUR or my TV station on Newsbreak. So that's why I was thinking after I graduate, I can sort of enroll in the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. If you have ever heard of that school.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, I've heard of that school. It's been around for a long time. But I will tell you that a lot of the things, and nothing wrong with that, but I'd like to see you guys get out and get your career started as quickly as you can. And what you're learning there at KUR and the TV experience you were mentioning and all, that helps you probably even more than you realize, and it helps you with some of the production skills and doing exactly what we're doing now, because you're running the studio there at the radio station and making this interview happen. And when you get into a radio station, whether you start off in the promotions department or on air or wherever, you will learn all those skills. You can learn, particularly if you start in a small radio station where they want you to do a lot of different things, and you'll learn a lot of those production skills. A lot of that you can learn online these days, too.
Yeah.
Once you get into the business, you'll pick up on that pretty quick.
Yeah, I definitely want to start in a smaller market. Like, I don't want to start in Philly, like, because I'm from Philly.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather, like, even this area is fine. Like, I'm in the Berks County area. Mm-hmm. It's like a rural area here. And even if I were fortunate enough to get a job here, I wouldn't mind because it is a smaller market. And I think being in a smaller market, they have you do more things.
That's true.
So, I would be able to acquire more skills and more knowledge in the industry. And that's really something that I want to, do. So, yes, I do think starting in a smaller market is better than starting in a large market because, the larger markets are tough.
And many of those people that you listen to on large market radio or watch on large market TV, they started in small towns just like what you're talking about right now. Many, not all, but most of them did, just like I did. I started in a small town. I told you I grew up in a rural part of the state, and the closest town was like 15 miles away. And so the first town I started in was a very small market radio station, and now I've worked in on the air and programmed radio stations in New Orleans and Pittsburgh and Washington, D.C., and consulted stations in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Miami and just everywhere. But it started out in a small market.
Yes. Like I said, times have changed. Like some schools and they don't really teach, students the fundamentals of radio, or maybe they don't even teach them all the careers you can have in radio. And, I had wanted to know, how did the Radio Conference Institute come about? Somewhat
because what you just said. I've been in I haven't actually said this in this conversation yet, but I've been in broadcasting all my life. It's the only thing I've ever done. And started out as an air talent, and I was a music director and a program director. I did production. I was a manager. Wow. I owned a radio station. I worked as vice president of programming and operations for a large broadcast group. And so I've been doing this for a long time. And throughout all those years, it's been very common. It's even hard to say it in a way to help people comprehend how commonplace this point is. But throughout all those years, broadcasters at every level of the industry in all size markets have said we don't have a systemized, organized radio talent farm system, a talent incubator for the broadcast industry, and we've never had a systematic way of finding young people to bring into the business. When we've all talked about it, complained about it in the business, and in conventions like the one you were recently at in Atlanta, it always comes up at a convention like that, too, as a discussion point. So I was fortunate enough to be in the opportunity just 3 or 4 years ago to be in a situation that I had time to work on something like this. And I thought about it for years and years, like many people have. And I just ended up being the first one to get around to doing it because everybody's busy and how do you do this and all. So I figured all that out and had the time to do it for the first time, and we started the National Radio Talent System, and the whole concept is to put radio talent institutes like the one you attended at the Comfort Radio Talent Institute down at Bloomsburg University in Pennsylvania, to put radio talent institutes like that on college campuses across America so young people like yourself that want to get into the business would have an entree that way where you learn a lot in a jam-packed 10 days and You meet these 35 to 40 broadcasters that are currently working in the industry and some of the best in the business, and you learn from them and create that network of contacts and all, and you learn a lot, of course. And so that's how it all came about. And the one specifically in Pennsylvania, Kirby Comfer, who you met, Shantae, is a lifelong broadcaster in my consulting firm. He was a client for many, many years, and he's a very, very highly respected broadcaster in the industry, very successful in every way you can measure it. And I had him speak at the Radio Talent Institute, where I first began at the Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, in the western part of North Carolina, up in the mountains. And he was gracious enough to fly in and do a session for us. And I told him what we were doing, and he said, "We need to do this in Pennsylvania." He looked me straight in the eye, said, "We need to do this in Pennsylvania." He said, "Call me in a couple of weeks." We did, and long story short, we met with the people at Bloomsburg University. They saw the value in it, and the Comfer Radio Talent Institute. It's named Comfer because it's named after Kirby Comfer, because he funds the entire event.
Oh, wow.
And he wants to, and he still owns radio stations. He's sort of in the background now because he's got presidents of his companies and all. But he still owns stations in Pennsylvania and Kentucky and different places. But he saw the value of this. He loves the business, and he likes to see young people come into the business. He funded the entire thing, or it wouldn't have happened. But that's why it's called the Comfer Radio Talent Institute.
I figured, I figured. So would you say he's like a sponsor?
Yeah, he's a sponsor.
Okay.
That's why his name's on the Radio Talent Institute. Like in Georgia, for example, we do at the University of Georgia at UGA, and the Georgia Association of Broadcasters funded there because it's called the GAB Radio Talent Institute. There, it's called the Comfer Radio Talent Institute because it's named after Kirby Comfer. And Kirby's also in the Pennsylvania Broadcasters Hall of Fame. He's very well known, very respected, and I was thrilled that he was wanted to do this. So that's another one of the institutes under the National Radio Talent System umbrella that we're doing in various states.
Yeah. I was there this past July, for everyone who didn't know. And it was like an intensive program for about 10 days. Like we learned a lot about sales. You also had industry professionals come in and they'll give us advice and tips. And, then we all, had I'm not going to say happy hour, but,
social hour.
Social hour. Yeah, social hour. We'll all go out to the restaurant and, exchange business cards. And, I would say that probably was my favorite part. I'm
glad to hear that.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear you say that, because when we began this, I designed the curriculum for the 10 days, and the social hour is sort of an afterthought originally, but like you just said, it has turned out to be the favorite of a lot of students because you get to meet people one-on-one and see them in a casual environment. It's effective and productive and enjoyable.
Yeah, I would say that's probably my favorite part of the show. But I have like maybe 3 or 4 more questions for you, but we're going to we're going to move on to the next question. So I would like to know, as a student that was part of the institute, like I said, I did enjoy it. And then we were also asked to do surveys at the end. But I want to know, was this beneficial to students? Like, what were the reviews from the students that attended the institute in Bloomsburg?
All there are a lot of positives. People say things like, and they can say anything, of course, and they say things like you just said, social hour. They could say something like social hour is one of their favorite things. They mention some of the favorite speakers that were there, and they're appreciative of all that. Some will say 10 days was a long time because it's pretty intense. But,
it's definitely intense.
They also say they're glad to do it. So most of I'm doing this top of mind memory now, but most of the great majority of, and 9 out of 10 people say nothing but great things about it and glad they do it. And there's a couple of suggestions usually, like let's find a different place to have lunch or things like that because it's the same place every day kind of thing. Just minor things along that line. But most importantly is students use those connections and build their networks to meet with broadcasters. And literally last week, the institute was, in July, but I hear from students throughout, just like you and I talking today, after the fact. And one of the students who went through last year was the second year of the Comfer Radio Talent Institute, at Bloomsburg University, and the first year was in 2014. And there's one young lady that was in the institute in 2014 that just emailed me last week, and all excited because she's always wanted to live in San Diego, and she just got her a job in San Diego last week.
What?
Yeah, that's right. She's starting this week.
That's great.
It's a 3-station cluster out there, 91X, and I forgot who the other two are. And so she joined them and starts her job in San Diego this week. So
wow. I was just going to get into that. Like, any success stories?
Yeah, well, there's an example of one right there. Now remember, we've only been doing it in Bloomsburg for
2 years.
2 years. So this success is only measured at this point by the people getting into the business. And a lot of those students, like yourself, are still in school. Some of them have graduated. And her name was Kendall. It's a young lady named Kendall, and she's the one who went to San Diego. Hala was a girl that was there the first year, and she's working in promotions at Hot 97 in New York. And Greg Woodone is a producer and reporter for a TV station in Salisbury, Maryland. And even there's another example of TV and radio. While he's doing TV, because that was the first job he was offered out of school, and he needed to get his career started, he still wants to move into radio and do sports play-by-play on radio eventually. So there are several. That's just examples from that, and from the other institutes we're doing around the country the last 3 or 4 years, where we've been doing it a little bit longer. Some students have been out into their career more. We've got a young man working for CNN in Washington, D.C., and another doing a morning show for a group called Alpha Media, a very fast-growing broadcast group in Columbia, South Carolina. Young lady working for the Atom Bomb nationally syndicated show out of Atlanta. So, yeah, we're still averaging about 60 or 70%, 65 or 70% of the students that go through the institute end up starting a career in radio or a related field. And a related field could be like Greg working in TV in Salisbury, Maryland, or down here in Carolina. Some people go to the NASCAR offices in Charlotte and studios there and do production work, audio and TV production work for NASCAR. And students work for IMG College Network, who broadcast games nationally across the country. Just so, see the radio-related field, about 65 or 75% of the students have started their career.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully, when I graduate, I'll have stories to tell you.
I hope you do. I'd love to. And, they will have you come back and talk to the students one day and tell that story.
Yes, I would love to.
Yeah, the key is to be as you and I have talked briefly before, the key is to be very proactive and get as good as you can, and then get out there and impress people and make them want to hire you,
Yeah, I completely agree. I've told a few students, at my school to apply, but for those who do not know, how can students apply for the Radio Conference Institute?
I'm glad you asked that. The best way, the easiest way to go from just memory, talking about it here on the radio, would be to go to the website, which is nationalradiotalentsystem.com. Sort of a long one, but it says what it is, nationalradiotalentsystem.com. And when you get there, there'll be a map on the home page, and it shows the 4 states where we're doing the institute now. And you'll see Pennsylvania, and you just click on the Confer Radio Talent Institute in Pennsylvania. It takes you to the Confer Radio Talent Institute homepage. They can play around on the website and all, or just click apply, and that takes you to the application. And the application for next summer is already up. They could apply today if they wanted to. And as you know, Shantae, and you could tell them that it's not just a point-and-click kind of thing. It's an application process. It takes a little time to get into it. Not a lot of time, but you will have to get a recommendation letter from a professor or from someone, and there's a few steps that you have to go through.
Yeah, I remember. You have to write an essay.
That's right, 2-page essay.
You have to do an ear check.
That's correct, an audio example of your work.
Yeah, the longest has to be like about 2 minutes long.
That's right.
Recommendation letter. And I think you have to fill out the application.
That's right. You're remembering this pretty well. And then after they do that, that's sent in as part of the application, and then they apply to be accepted. And we evaluate all of the applications that come into our office. And usually within 2 or 3 weeks, if we can stay on schedule in our office, we get back to you and let you know if you've been accepted or not. And there's no charge for any of this at that point. And then once you're accepted, there's another 2 or 3, 4 week period that you have an opportunity to actually then go register once you know you're accepted. And that's the only time there's a financial obligation, and and for the 10 days, it's only $375 this year. That's a $14 increase over what you paid, Shante. I think it was $361 last year, but $375 is the registration fee, which is, as most college students know, is a great price for 10 days because many just weekend seminars are $1,000 or more. So, and there's no other program like this in the world.
Yeah, I was definitely telling my friends about it, but I remember exactly how the application process went, and I was notified within a week or so. It didn't take
good.
a few. Yeah, it was like a week.
I'm glad to hear my office was efficient.
Yes. Your wife, she was definitely on point.
My wife is she works
yeah.
for me and she does a great job.
Yes. And I just have one last final question for you. I would like to know, how can someone become a sponsor or like donate to the Radio Conference Institute, as far as, giving scholarships for students that can't afford it, or, just helping in general? Well,
there's a couple of things. There's a couple of types of sponsors we have. One is the overall sponsor, like Kirby, who sponsors the entire institute, which is that's a bigger number. But for the scholarships themselves, they can contact us, and it depends on the university. Sometimes the scholarship can go through us, through the National Radio Talent System, and sometimes we direct the people to the university itself. But they can contact us directly, and we'll walk them through that. It's a simple and easy process, and obviously we welcome it because it allows for students to go to the Radio Talent Institute that may not be able to go otherwise. So the simplest, easiest way, fastest way is just to contact us. You can contact me directly at the National Radio Talent System, either email or phone, whatever, and you can give them that information if you like. And then we'll set it up, make it easy for them to do that. And we obviously welcome the scholarship because it helps students to be able to go.
All right. Well, it sounds good, and I will definitely keep you updated with everything. And I want to thank you for letting me interview you today about the Radio Conference Institute. It was nice speaking to you, Dan.
I'm flattered that you wanted to talk, and I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
All right.
Thank you, Shante.
Bye, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Andrea Bocelli in concert, Saturday, December 12th, 8 p.m., Wells Fargo Center with the Philly Pops, conducted by Eugene Cohn. Tickets on sale now. Buy tickets at ComcastTix.com.
It's hard for me to talk about, but I remember I was late for work and I was speeding. Then I saw the car and I hit the car, and at that point, I just remember everything in slow motion, the car wrapping around me. And I kept thinking to myself, this is it. I'm going to die. Instead, I'm in the hospital. I'm going home tomorrow. But the hardest part with all of this is with Andy. He doesn't look me in the eye anymore. He just kind of pats me on the hand. He probably knows that I know that he's going to leave me. And I can see that in his face just as clearly as I can see what I've done to mine.
Speeding gets you nowhere fast. A public service message brought to you by this station and the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Hey everyone, it's Shante, and you are listening to Kutztown Live. I have special guest host Nick Lawrence with me here today. How are you doing, Nick?
Hey, good to see you, Shante. It's good to be here again.
Yeah, so recently, Twitter, I'm always on Twitter, but there have been a lot of trending topics this week, like big, yeah.
There's so many things we could talk about. You can go anywhere with this. So
yeah. So I recently found out, I believe it was on Monday or Tuesday, that Charlie Sheen is HIV positive, and that completely took me by a surprise. I think anything as serious as HIV or cancer, I'm surprised, because people look at that as a death sentence. So I was completely surprised. A lot of people weren't, because of his history, with sleeping with numerous people. And also because there was a point in time where he was sleeping with prostitutes and porn stars and things like that. So a lot of people aren't surprised, but it turns out that he has been HIV positive for 4 years now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he actually brought that on the Today Show as a venue, because on a national network show like that, rather than doing it on like a show or something where, you might expect something like that. But I think it was interesting that he came out and talked to Matt Lauer on the Today Show. He said that he's had it for 4 years. So how do you keep that quiet and then sleeping with people the way he did?
Yeah, he said he paid people $10 million. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he spent $10 million in paying people to keep it a secret. So that was interesting. But it didn't surprise me that 4 years ago he was diagnosed, because there was a period in time where he was just doing these, I don't know, he was just acting really crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there was this hashtag he made called twinning, and he was just acting very bizarre.
So it's interesting that he says that what he has, the type of HIV positive he has, was undetectable. And so in some way, I think he justified that it was okay to sleep with people because it wasn't undetectable. But because it's undetectable doesn't necessarily mean that you can't catch it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and he said that there is no way that anyone that he has slept with has HIV positive. Has HIV.
Yeah.
And the woman Brie Olson is one of the women that he slept with. I believe she's a porn star, and she's not really happy with Charlie Sheen. She said that they've slept together numerous times unprotected, and she said that he did not mention to her that he was HIV positive, although he has said that he has told everyone that he is HIV positive. But she's saying that he did not tell her about it.
So this is a serious case, but and other things can be serious. So maybe we should expand the idea. Do you think somebody should disclose? Let's suppose somebody has an STD, right? Any type of STD. Should that be something that somebody should disclose to a person that they intend to sleep with?
Yes.
You think it should be disclosed?
Yes.
Do you think people do though?
No, because believe it or not, one of my friends, my freshman year, almost got a STD from someone.
Okay.
And he found out when the girl told him. She's like, "Hey, I just found out that I got gonorrhea. I think you should get tested for it." He was completely shocked.
Yeah.
But I tried to warn him because she.
You knew her lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, there have been rumors circulating about what she does on campus and about how many people she sleeps with and things like that. I tried to warn him, but he was just so physically attracted to her, that he didn't listen.
So this one of these people, Elizabeth Bentley, her name is, she was talking to TMZ, and she said that she had slept with Charlie Sheen, and she didn't know that he was HIV positive, but she said she's not upset by it. She said because he has the right to have an active sex life. She said that people have a right to have an active sex life, and that he used the condom, and therefore she felt that she was okay.
I agree with her that every person has the right to have an active sex life, but I am shocked that she wasn't scared or worried.
Well, I mean, not you personally, but anybody. Say it's the people who are listening to the show. If you knew that somebody had HIV, would you have any hesitancy about sleeping with him? That's the question, isn't it?
Yes.
He didn't disclose. People slept with him. Now, some people are going to come out and say, which this lady said, it's okay, no big deal. I slept with him. He didn't tell me, but it's okay because he used the condom. Another person will say, well, what do you mean? It's okay. So,
condoms can break.
Of course. Do they really protect you against all the sexually transmitted diseases?
Yeah. So, I would be shocked. And I would be hesitant. So, I'm just surprised that she's not.
Yeah, I guess we have an opinion of people who are porn stars as if it really doesn't matter. But before they're porn stars, they're people. I would think that everyone would be concerned about catching an STD, or specifically in this case, AIDS. So do you think? What do you think what should he do, Shantae? What do you think he should do about this? I mean, other than just disclose that he did it, does he have an obligation to try to help people that he slept with, whether they're infected or not? What do you think?
Yes, I guarantee you that every person that he has slept with, like I've heard that he slept with about 2,000 people.
2,000.
Yes, that's a lot. Earlier, it's crazy because earlier this week, it was only said that he slept with 200 people.
Okay.
So earlier today, I was on the websites, and one of the trending topics said Charlie Sheen has slept with over 2,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think every single person that he has slept with is going to get tested. They need to get tested. Yeah. As far as I know, Brie Olsen, the lady or the woman who was mad at Charlie Sheen for not disclosing the information to her, she said that she's not HIV positive, although she did sleep with him unprotected. She's not HIV positive.
So what do you think it says about him as a person that that's either needed or wanted or was able to sleep with 2,000?
That's a lot of people.
I mean, 2,000 women. Think about that. And then, we always say whoever you sleep with, then the next person sleeps with that person too, right? Because if you're having sex with somebody, either unprotected or protected sex, and you've had sex with somebody else, in a sense, you're sleeping with that person too.
I don't know. I just think it's disgusting.
Yeah, but so what does he think it says about Charlie Sheen as a person, though? I mean, he's a cool actor.
Maybe
People like him.
Maybe he's a sex addict or something.
Okay. I mean, I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking.
Sounds like an ego thing to me. Like he's either super insecure inside, even though he comes off as being incredibly secure, that inside people like that need to get themselves validated by someone else all the time. I mean, I don't know. This is conjecture. We're just talking, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think? I mean, he has a big ego. At least it seemed like that, right?
I think every celebrity has a big ego.
Okay.
Like he paid prostitutes. Like he paid for prostitutes, which I don't understand. Why are you paying for prostitutes? But in his defense, he said that he was just trying to help them. It wasn't even like that.
He was helping by having sex with them?
Well, he technically said he was helping them get a better life and things like that.
Okay. So why don't we see if anybody's listening wants to call in and tell us what they think about this, what they think about the Charlie Sheen thing. And so have people call in. And what's our call-in line?
All right. For those who would like to comment on this Charlie Sheen, issue, the number is 610-683-4859. If you have any comments or thoughts or opinions in regards to Charlie Sheen's HIV status and why do you think he decided to sleep with this many people and not tell them? The number is 610-683-4859.
So there are a lot of parts of this. Okay, first of all, he for whatever his reasons were, he slept with 2,000 people. Is that because he needs that kind of validation? Second thing is he slept with those people and didn't tell them. He was married at some point, right?
Yes, I think he was married to Brooke Shields and someone else. Oh, Denise. No, not Brooke Shields. Not Brooke Shields. I'm sorry, but it was someone named Denise.
Denise.
She was she was an actress, but apparently Denise was friends with another.
Is that Denise Richards?
Denise Richards.
Yeah, that's what I thought,
he was married to Denise Richards, but she was friends of his ex-wife.
Okay.
It's a story. I just forgot his other ex-wife's name.
Yeah, I don't know who that was either.
But they were friends.
Okay.
They were friends.
So you see how quickly the story can get convoluted, right, with all these different things. And then you factor in, I mean, first of all, physically the amount of time it takes to sleep with 2,000 people. I mean, how many days is it? Is it one a day for 4 years or what? I mean, how does that happen for somebody?
You know what? I think that he already knew that he was getting sick, and he was just like, I'm just gonna live life till its fullest. That's what I think.
Can I? This is Mike over your.
I was just going to ask you if you wanted to comment.
Well, no. Well, I just wanted to, because I heard you guys talking about spouses. I looked it up for you guys, and he actually was married 3 times.
Okay.
From 95 to 96, Donna Peel. I'm not sure who that is.
Me either.
From 2002 to 2006, Denise Richards, and from 2008 to 2011, Brooke Mueller. That must be the Brooke.
That's
you
where
were
your
thinking
Brooke
of.
came
Yeah.
in.
Yes. And I think Brooke and Denise were friends.
Right, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children.
Yes. See, I knew it. Yeah. So Brooke and Denise were friends. So he married 2 friends.
So how does that bring? So now he has. How many kids does he have, Michael? He has
5.
5 kids. So what do you say to your kids about that? now that he's come out and he's told people that he has this, I don't know how old his children are, but they're probably 10 or above, or maybe some are a little bit younger than that, because he's 50 years old, right?
All right, he's got one that's 11 years old. He's got one that is, I'm clicking on each of them separately, one that is 30 years old. Okay,
wow.
So obviously that was somebody out of wedlock there.
Well, yeah.
That's okay. He's got one that is 10 years old. He's got one that is...
so for the most part, though, they're able to understand
right,
what
yeah,
this means,
they're old
right?
enough. Yeah, they're old enough to
and
understand.
I think that's so what do you say if that were your dad? Okay, who's your dad? My dad's Charlie Sheen. Well, I heard that he just said that he's HIV positive and he slept with 2,000 women. What is a kid supposed to think about that?
A Sheen.
Yeah, he's got one that's only 6 years old. Wow. That's,
really? Oh,
yeah,
my gosh.
6 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I only knew that he was married to Denise Richards.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, he was married to these two other people as well. And wasn't the divorce with her, wasn't that like a really contentious divorce too, or is that one that worked that they know was resolved relatively easily?
I don't know. I'd have to do some
Yeah,
research. But I know one of them is fairly contentious. I think you're correct. Yes.
I think the one with Brooke got really nasty.
That was the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was the most recent one. That was 2011. That one ended. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. These guys, as you said, Shantae, that people, they're all egotistical. They're narcissistic, right? Many of the people that are in this place. And I guess we don't realize what their lives are really like. To be able to...
It's funny, Nick, that you use the word narcissism, because the other big name that we always hear about in the news every day, Trump, my mother-in-law always says he's the biggest narcissist out there. So.
And he is. I don't know that he's sleeping with 2,000 women, but he's had, what, 3 wives? 3 or 4 wives?
He still had his share, yeah. I mean, I think these when you get that much money and that much, they always say money doesn't buy happiness. And here's guys that are worth, millions of dollars, and I don't think they're really necessarily that happy.
So look at the difference, Shantae. Somebody like Magic Johnson. The story of Magic Johnson was one of the first to come out with HIV. He was HIV positive, but he's spent his entire life since then trying to do good and trying to help people and trying to get people to understand what it is and all that stuff, compared to Charlie Sheen. A totally different perspective on it. I don't remember. I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't know of Magic Johnson being reputed to have slept with, thousands of women. I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah. The thing about Magic Johnson, sometimes I forget he even has HIV.
Yeah, and most people do. Yeah.
He doesn't look sick at all. He's definitely been an advocate for, for trying to, to decrease the amount of people who can get HIV. And I think he has been nothing but positive, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. He's a great role model for people,
definitely.
right? Where Charlie
Sheen doesn't seem apologetic at all.
No.
About it. Like, he doesn't even care. He's like, yeah, I got HIV and that's that. Like, he doesn't really seem like he's care about anyone that he's affected.
And there's some articles out there saying that people see him as like a folk hero in a way, because he came out and because he told people. I mean, I understand that, but he waited 4 years to do this. And I mean, he didn't stop sleeping with people when he found out that he was HIV positive. So it's like having a weapon. Right? It's just like carrying a gun. It's just a different type of a gun. If somebody has an STD or something like this and they don't tell the people that they're with it, they have it, it's like setting them up in a way. And I don't know. What do you think people would think? Since somebody's calling us, what do you think if we asked the kids here on campus, what do you think they would say about this? Would they see him as a folk hero, or do you think they'd see him as like a narcissistic, disgusting kind of a guy? Which is the way I see him, but that's just my opinion.
I think people will see Magic Johnson as a hero, but not Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
What has he done that's heroic? He slept with people knowing that he had this disease and didn't come out until 4 years later. Like, he didn't have a care in the world.
I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was telling me how he admires Charlie Sheen because he was so cool on what's it, 2.5 Men, I think the name of the show was.
Oh God!
And they liked him, and they don't like Ashton Kutcher that he doesn't even measure up at all to what Charlie Sheen did.
He doesn't. See, that's the thing with us ordinary people. It's like we confuse the character they play for who they really are in reality. The same thing with Bill Cosby. People were so shocked of those allegations. I know I was completely shocked.
Sure.
I was, because he's from Philly. I'm from Philly. A lot of African Americans like myself, they love him, and he's supposed to be a great role model for us. Like he broke the stereotypes of the Cosbys, and once they found out these allegations were like, I'm not sure if they're true or not, because I don't think he has gone to court for it yet. But yeah, it's like sometimes we confuse who they are, like who they play in a show or a movie for who they really are. Like Charlie Sheen, he played his character really well. He was really funny, and he is better than Ashton Kutcher at playing the role. Like I didn't really find Ashton Kutcher character that funny. But at the same time, that does not make him a good person just because he was funny on a television show.
See, and I think as an adult, you can see that. I can see that. Still, though, a lot of people don't. And I'm thinking of like kids when they see this. I think you're right about that. They confuse the role that they play with the person. It's just like the football players, right? That have abused women, or the great football players, or the great basketball, baseball players, whatever. And we think that's the person. But we really don't. We don't know the person. We only know what they do. We only know the public persona that they have. So I think you're right about it. I think that's a really good point. And the younger people are, the more they're likely to idolize somebody by their performance in their role rather than the person that they are.
Yeah, no, I do not see Charlie Sheen as a hero. I think it's terrible what he did.
I can't imagine anybody doesn't think so, but then when you get somebody like these people, he's entitled to an active sex life. What does that actually mean, though? Sure, if you're healthy and you're normal and you care about somebody or whatever, but is he entitled to have a normal sex life when he has a disease that someone else could contract from him? And I think, as you mentioned, like a condom, it's not really ultimate protection. It's a protection, but it could leak, right? Things can break. It's just the way it could be. And I think a lot of people have found that out, that it's not an ultimate protection. So I'm not sure the people that are defending him, how they do that. Maybe because in their own lives, they take risky behavior.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen to Charlie Sheen's career? Do you think this is going to open more opportunities for him, or are people going to be completely against hiring him? Like, what do you think is going to happen to him now? Like, he's 50 years old.
If I could just weigh in real quick, sometimes I've seen this happen way too often. I think it's going to help him. I think now it's going to be Charlie Sheen writing a book about how he came through this, and he fought it, and how it turned him around. And I maybe I'm just a cynical person when I think of things that way, but I've just seen this happen too much.
No, negative. They say what all
press is good publicity.
Right, all publicity is good, even if it's negative.
Right.
I think it's going to depend on how he handles it.
That's true.
If he does any other interviews, or if he's apologetic, or if he's or if he's arrogant about it, or if he doesn't make a big deal about it, then it may make a difference. But I think you're right, Michael. I think the publicity that he gets from it may give him more notoriety.
Sure.
And there are enough people out there that are just followers. They're just sheep, and they'll go along with it and say, well, he did come out and he's trying to make amends for himself and all that stuff. I'm not buying that, but I think people do think that way. Shante, what do you think? You're of a different generation than we are. What do you how do you think young people see this, let's say, versus your parents' age, or specifically your grandparents? How do you think they would take this?
I don't know. I don't know. I think young people, they love, I guess, stars who aren't normal or who don't. I don't know. I feel like maybe they like celebrities that are crazy or who go against the norm. Whereas, people from older generations, they might not like Charlie Sheen right now. But I think I kind of agree with Mike. I think it might help his career. Like I've said, I've seen many stars. I'm trying to think of an example now.
The more controversial they are, the more notoriety they get.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Well, but I think that's, even in the media, though, what they say, if it bleeds, it leads. So the more controversial, the more upsetting, the more, fantastic, the more, whatever the word is, I'm just drawing a blank on it. I think that's exactly what happens. Like, people do want that notoriety. Some people get notoriety for being a bad boy, and others get notoriety by being a good person, like Magic Johnson. But I think, what you said about Bill Cosby really, really hit home for a lot of people, because there's a guy that had an image that was unshakable, untarnished, right? Everybody thought Bill Cosby was just like the most amazing guy. Of course, with the character that he played as the Huxtable guy Cliff Huxtable on his show. So, interesting topic.
Yeah, I did not want to believe those allegations. I did not. But then all these women just kept coming forward. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I really did not want to believe. I'm like, no, they're lying on him. They're trying to destroy his legacy. But then you have all these women coming out, so it's just like so hard for it not to be true.
Mm-hmm. Even if only half of them or a quarter of them were true. I mean, there are gold diggers, as they call them, people out there that want to get their own notoriety by going after somebody. But even if either a half of them or a quarter of them are true, that still changes the image that Bill Cosby had in the public eye.
Yes. I hate to say it, but I think his legacy is sort of destroyed now, and it's very unfortunate. Like, a lot of people have taken his statues down. A lot of stations do not even air the Cosbys anymore. I hate to say it. I really hate to say it.
So again, you wonder what that person's ego is, that they think they can do this or use people or hurt them in some way without any consequences or repercussions from it, right? And then to live that double image, the image he must have known that people think he's right up there on a pedestal and he's a great guy and family man and all this stuff, and then we find out that he actually is something very different from that. So very cool. Good discussion, right?
Yeah, I like the Charlie Sheen. I think what he's done is terrible. Bill Cosby, if it is true, I think what he has done is terrible as well. 'Cause he has done so many great things in the industry, and just to hear those things, but I just find it weird. Like, why did all of these ladies decide to come out now? Like, why now? Like, why not before? Like, I know that he has paid them hush money. That's what celebrities do. They have money and they have all these power. But why did they decide to come out now? I just feel like they should have came out earlier.
Early on, unless he has unless he found a conscience someplace. But that's hard for me to believe too. But listen, maybe he's sicker than what we think he is. Right? I mean, he says that he has the money to get the same kind of treatment, I guess, somebody like Magic Johnson has gotten. But the point is, maybe he's sicker than what he is, and maybe he doesn't have as much time left, and he wanted to make amends. I don't know. I guess it'll depend on what we hear in other interviews that he does someplace, but it's fascinating.
He isn't speaking on the issue yet, but I'm hoping that he will speak on it very soon. But I think this has been a great discussion.
That's good. Thanks for inviting me to be on the show today. It's very cool.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to Kutztown Live.